My name is Emma Cullen, and my Lest We Forget presentation today will be over one of our founding fathers and an important influence in today's America, Alexander Hamilton. My biographical research source is the biography Alexander Hamilton by Ron Chernow. The first thing that usually comes to mind when you hear the name Alexander Hamilton is, oh, isn't that the guy in the $10 bill? Or, oh, someone made a Broadway musical about that dude. Truth be told, not many people really know the story behind the famous name, and that's what I'm here to talk about today. This great story starts in a town on a tiny island in the West Indies. Alexander Hamilton was born in Charlestown, the capital of the small island Nevis. He grew up into a very poor life with not many strong adults around him. His father, James A. Hamilton, left when he was just 10 years old, and then 2 years later, his mother, Rachel Buck, died from a severe sickness. Unlike most people of his age, Alexander had to take on the responsibilities of an adult while he was still very young. He was placed in charge of a trading charter when he was 14, and when he turned 17, a devastating hurricane hit his town. After that traumatic event, Hamilton decided to set sail to the Americas. In 1774, Alexander Hamilton arrived in America and enrolled in King's College, now known as Columbia University, with emphasized studies in math, medicine, and law. The first thing to do was get his name out, so Hamilton attended the campaign of 1776, where all eyes were on him, even the ones of General George Washington. He was definitely impressed. After the campaign, Alexander was quickly appointed to Washington's staff. He worked alongside him as his right-hand man and fought on the battlefield in the Revolutionary War with his friends that he made along the way, including a man named John Lawrence. Hamilton and Lawrence had a very close connection. They both had love for their country and wanted to abolish slavery as a whole. This amazing friendship was sadly lost due to the death of Lawrence at the Battle of Combahee River in 1782. After the death of John Lawrence, Hamilton shut off some compartment of his emotions and never reopened it. Even though this affected Hamilton deeply, in just 2 short years, he set up the Bank of New York and eventually the first national banking system in America. Alexander strived in his work and ended up being invited to the Constitutional Convention in 1787. All the hard work that Hamilton had during college and the Revolutionary War finally paid off for him. He even got to be the Secretary of Treasury under President George Washington. Hamilton teamed up with John Jay and James Madison to write articles defending the new U.S. Constitution called the Federalist Papers. Their goal was to write 25 papers between the 3 of the men. John Jay wrote 5 until he fell ill. James Madison wrote 29, and Alexander ended up writing 51 out of the 85 essays written in just a span of 6 months. Hamilton, the human word machine. There's no doubt that Hamilton had a lot of ideas, dreams, and thoughts that he wasn't afraid to show. The next big thing to happen in Alexander's life was the upcoming election of 1800. The 2 head-to-head candidates for the election came down to Thomas Jefferson and Aaron Burr. And just like when he started, all eyes were on Hamilton. The outcome all came down to the Electoral College's vote. Alexander Hamilton's vote. He ended up voting for Thomas Jefferson, which Aaron Burr didn't like one bit because that caused him to lose the election to Thomas Jefferson. Burr decided to set up a duel with Hamilton, wanting revenge for making him lose the election. He was mad. Alexander didn't want to duel. He didn't want to take another's life. He had sons and children and a wife, and he didn't want anything to happen to him or his colleague. So, at the count of 10, he aimed at the sky while Burr aimed at him. Alexander died on July 12, 1804, at age 47. Alexander Hamilton paved the way for generations of people to live in an organized country. He served as Washington's right-hand man during the Revolutionary War and founded the first National Bank of America. The work he did while being Secretary of Treasury was tremendous and took the first steps in the right direction for the American government. The dent Hamilton made was huge and cannot and will not go unnoticed. Justice shall be done to the memory of my Hamilton, Eliza Hamilton. Even as an immigrant, he showed America that he was truly ready to become one of them. In fact, no immigrant in American history has ever made a larger contribution than Alexander Hamilton. We have so many things to thank this founding father for, and we shall never forget the legacy of Alexander Hamilton.